Time to start.
Rock concert movement number 1. The basic head bob.
Gotta get down on Friday. Bradshaw with you here. Evacuate in our moment of triumph.
If you're going to give me things like gotta get down on Friday, let me know so I can cue Friday.
No. We don't need to play it. People have...
But
it's played out.
It's not played out.
It's played
That's
out.
a classic.
It is played out.
That is like Snow and Informer. It'll never go away.
No, I'm all about the new hotness. By the way, might I recommend... You're familiar with, like, trending hashtags on Twitter? Well, no, you're not a big Twitter.
No, I'm familiar with them. They do it. People bring their Twitter onto Facebook, so I'm familiar with it.
So have you seen the Star Wars fiscal cliff?
No.
Highly recommend. It is finally, if it worked in cat pictures somehow, it would be a singularity of just everything internet.
I've seen the picture of all the old Star Wars characters, but at today's age, and it says, don't lie, you're going to go watch it.
Well, hell yeah, I'm going to go see Episode 7. Are you kidding me? 2015 is going to be a great time.
I'm going to go see it. I'm not even ashamed.
And look, Star Wars fans, we've already shown we're more than willing. All right. Even if half the movies suck, we're still on board. But yeah, on Twitter, the Star Wars fiscal cliff. High comedy. On the show today, just because I am continually... I knew it was coming. I've told you it was coming. But watching it play out, it is... two trains headed different directions on the same track in slow motion. Watching not just the Republican Party deal with loss and it's a loss that literally no one on the right expected, up to and including the Romney, campaign inner circle themselves. I guess, when you live in the bubble, you can't see the writing on the wall. And as typical in situations, you ask, okay, what happened and what's next? And it takes almost a singular, special ability to divine the wrong answers almost universally. So we'll talk about that. The big news today, I guess this is what's making the headlines, and this was on the Sean Hannity radio program. Were you a Pokemon guy, Dan, at all?
I'm too old for Pokemon.
So I don't. But I apparently Sean Hannity has evolved into Squirtle. I don't know if Squirtle's something you evolve into or out of.
I don't even know what that is.
Squirtle. It's the only Pokemon I know. So
I just know they have that little red-white ball thing.
Yeah, some sort of thermal detonator.
That's what it looks like, and that's why I know what it is.
No, yesterday, on the radio, Sean Hannity says that he has evolved. Again, there's a word that really resonates with the right-wing base right there. First of all, he now supports a pathway to citizenship. Wants to get rid of the immigration issue altogether. It's simple to me to fix it. I think you control the border first. You create a pathway for those people that are here. You don't say you've got to go home. And that is a position I've evolved on. Because you know what? It's got to be resolved. The majority of people here, if some people have criminal records, you can send them home. If people are here, law-abiding, participating for years, their kids are born here, you know what? First secure the border, pathway to citizenship. Done. You can't let the problem continue. It's got to stop. Oh, my. This, again, from one of the main cheerleaders and main voices. I mean, sure, Sean Hannity's value in life pretty much exclusively comes from, well, being a sop to hold on to Rush Limbaugh's ratings. I can say this as a former Hannity program director. He's only really valuable to hold on to the Rush audience, but that's neither here nor there. One of the main voices on the right, the star of Fox News. He's their big, infotainment host, second biggest talk host in the talk radio world. I've evolved. That was quick. I'm used to, evolution happening over the period of millions of years. Sean Hannity can do it in less than 48 after a
No, you're not.
Election
You look for
shellacking.
macroevolution. You believe in macroevolution.
And that occurs over millions of years.
No, that would be microevolution. Nobody says that doesn't happen. You believe in macro, where it goes from one species to a complete another species, and that can't happen over millions of years. It's got to be a sudden shift.
No, it's not.
To have the change.
Actually, you've got it exactly backwards.
No.
Yes.
No, macro is a major change.
Yeah, and that happens over millions of years. Back from when our ancestors were little small rodent things running around in the time of the dinosaurs, we could survive a catastrophe on a global scale. And look what we've become.
Whose ancestors? That may be
ours.
You may have come from a monkey. I don't think I did.
Well, what you think is irrelevant.
Well, what you think's
That's
irrelevant.
The
though.
beauty of I know. So let's defer to the evidence.
Which is based off of pseudoscience, and it's based off of double hypotheses, and
You
and
call
stuff.
what you call pseudoscience. We like to call the reality-based community. I understand it doesn't appeal to your worldview, and I'm not trying to appeal to you.
I understand you're not trying to appeal to me. I'm saying it's not relevant. It's not what you're trying to push out there isn't provable science. It's a hypothesis.
If it didn't bother you, you wouldn't have jumped in on a conversation about Sean Hannity, which inherently I hit that part in the back of your head that knows it's true. You can fight it all you want.
Oh, geez. You're right.
Otherwise,
Sean Hannity's involving. I love it.
I do too.
Here.
This is great to watch. Again, this is a party that has spent the last 6 years doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on, anti-immigrant talk. It is now acceptable. We saw this during the Republican debate.
Which never made any sense.
No, it did in a sense of we need to keep our base fired up because without them, we're dead in the water.
But if paths to citizenship and allowing people to become citizens easier and more efficiently and in a more timely manner, which is something I know they actively opposed, maybe not in spirit, but in action.
Oh, no, you go back to 2000 and George W. Bush and his talk of compassionate conservatism. All right, that was the slogan. Back when Karl Rove wasn't a complete dumbass in it for the money, understood that Latino outreach was critical. Viva Bush. And here's a guy from a border state who understood that you couldn't just wall off that section of the electorate. And they made Latino outreach, yet not just the Cuban exile community in Miami, which is a huge gain in Florida, but throughout the Southwest and the rest of the country. Then came war fatigue, the Bush administration being the Bush administration, Katrina, which led us into the 2006 midterms. And what started this whole ball rolling, remember, was House Republicans put forward such a draconian, right-wing, anti-immigrant bill. It would forbid you from rendering first aid to an illegal. It was just so far over the top. And again, this wasn't something that was ever meant to pass and be law. Right? They weren't looking to actually push this legislation. But they wanted out there that they did something, and this was the path they took. This was supposed to be something they could just put up, leave and walk away from, And then Steve King could go back to Western Iowa and say, look, I'm doing this thing that I believe appeals to you backwoods hillbillies. What they didn't expect was for one example, the Catholic Church and Latino groups to take their issue and run with it. They didn't expect a million Latinos marching through the streets of Los Angeles. And, faith-based groups saying, we will ignore your law. But the die was already cast. The Tom Tancredos and the Steve Kings were given, the microphone. They were given the camera time. They were allowed to speak. Republicans, were kowtowing to the Minutemen. Even issues like the DREAM Act, which in the past it even had Republican co-sponsors. Now, can't even be brought up for debate. It was filibustered live on Univision and Telemundo by Senate Republicans. And any talk of, a true comprehensive immigration reform. When you look at our immigration system, it is Band-Aid on top of duct tape, on top of, chewing gum and wire. It is a cobbled together mess of hoops to jump through. It's a horribly inefficient system. Ask any immigration lawyer, any. Say, get in line and do things right. You're talking a decade, $10,000 or more dollars. It's a mess. And that's, by the way, if you are someone of education and means, the unskilled labor that we so love because it keeps our, Wendy's salads cheap. That's even harder. So to keep their, wall of white men, Republican became the anti-immigration party. It became acceptable at the Republican debates to actually advertise. This isn't just the John Birch Society newsletter. This was, regular primetime television. Advertise, we are against legal immigration as well. Not that all Republicans shared that view, but it wasn't something that you kind of say conspiratorially, And everyone else has gone, you know the deal, right? We don't want any of them coming to North. That became at least acceptable in polite company. How about that? I guess this now is a unevolved Hannity. And this is just one example. This is a clip from the Hannity show, bringing on noted civil rights activist Michelle Malkin. Remember, made her name.
That have not respected American law, American sovereignty. It is wreaking havoc economically on states, on our healthcare system, on hospitals that have to close, on our educational system, on our criminal justice system.
I would disagree with that.
Well, you can't disagree with the facts. So the question is, if people do not respect our laws or sovereignty, do you have a problem arresting them?
Oh, well, look, if somebody's willing to walk across the desert for 10 days so they can go clean our tables and change our linens so they can feed their family in Mexico, you can't blame a human being for that. Those are just hard-working people.
I didn't ask you that. Do you have a problem arresting them?
Yes, I do, absolutely. If they're otherwise hard-working, tax-paying people, absolutely.
Michelle, this is interesting, because he wants to live in a society. Any civil society has got to have a bedrock foundation of the rule of law. And what Francisco is saying is that laws that were passed by Congress and signed by presidents, we should ignore them.
No, that's not the point. The point is...
Now, Francisco, that was for Michelle.
Please. Yes.
Thank you. You know, I admire this about Francisco. He has a wonderful way of saying the most outrageous, disagreeable things in a very agreeable way. And basically what he has articulated is the same philosophy of Reconquista and open borders that many Mexican officials have long advocated for, from Zedillo to Fox to Calderon. They all believe that the territory of Mexico extends beyond its borders. And while they're very vehemently protective of their own southern border, they don't believe in ours.
No, they don't. You know, the American Indians are still pretty miffed about our illegal immigration coming from the East European countries. So
why would you? My last question to you, Francisco: why would you not want the laws of the United States of America enforced? Why?
Well, of course you want them enforced, but the point is it's a jobs matter.
No, you don't. You just said you don't want the law enforced against the poor person who's coming here to work. You just said that. Well, fair play then, huh?
Well,
you're basically contradicting yourself, Francisco. You just said you don't want the law enforced against somebody who's just coming here to work. You said it.
If they're coming here to work and we have the jobs and American citizens are not filling them, God bless them. They're trying to feed their families.
That is not part of our immigration law. It's not in our Constitution, and it's certainly not how Mexico treats its own illegal aliens.
And you know what?
Well, until then, people should follow the law.
We got to run. Thank you both for being. Thank you both for being with us. We're just out of time, and there is plenty more Hannity still to come.
In fact, there's a brand new Hannity. And don't kid yourself. The even losing 75% of the Hispanic vote. And if this keeps up, you will render the Republican Party a rump. There are still those dead enders out there. Our own Steve King. He's the guy who calls illegal immigration a slow motion Holocaust. I guess kudos for not invoking rape, I guess. Said yesterday, Obama voters chose dependency over liberty. Now establishment want citizenship for illegals. You can't beat Santa Claus with amnesty. And again, this is this upcoming, Republican Civil War.
This is a pretty blatant attempt to win the Hispanic vote, I would say.
Well, again, less than 48 hours after.
Now
I've evolved. Forget I just spent, 4 years.
Them Hispanic people, they stupid. They don't know what we talking about.
Well, that's the Limbaugh route. That's the minorities only vote for Obama because they were going to give them things.
Yeah, I've never really met a Hispanic person that asked me for anything. Usually they work 3 jobs and share a house.
But they voted for Santa Claus, according to Rush, and he's right 97.9% of the time or whatever.
Yeah, I don't have a good defense as to why somebody would vote for President Obama. But
how about his party doesn't accuse them of just being moocher wannabes? And this is what I'm getting at.
That is true. I guess you're right there.
This is what I'm getting. That sort of, we're the good ones. And those who oppose us are bad and evil and moocher is so ingrained in the DNA of the Republican Party. They can't just walk away from it. Ed Kilgore, the Washington Monthly today. There will be a backlash against this sellout that will be ugly enough that those proposing it may wish they just hadn't brought it up publicly. I'm sure Hannity's going to be a hoot today. Not that I would encourage you to tune in, because that's just bad times. But I can just imagine the phone calls that won't get through the call screener. You can't just turn on a dime like this. Not without causing a massive restructuring of your party. Ask Democrats. We did it. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't just, yank off the Band-Aid real quick. It was a long, sustained process that cost us the South. Remember the Solid South? Probably not, because you're not, the age of 70. But are you familiar with the concept? This goes back to post-Civil War Reconstruction. then, a process that started in the mid-40s and took us until the mid-60s to purge the Dixiecrats, the Jim Crow acolytes, just the blatant racists. Had to run them out of our party. It took a Southern Democrat, LBJ, push the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, put an end to Jim Crow, or at least start to. I think you can look at some of those voting lines in Tampa and say, maybe the poll tax is still around in its own unique way. I don't know what else you call a 7-hour wait to vote. But this is what the Republican Party is going to have to do. You can only sit around and, worship the graven image of Ronald Reagan so long. At some point, you have to actually, push ideas. Right now, Republicans have idea. Tax cuts and deregulation. What's your solution when times are bad? Tax cuts and deregulation. What about when times are good? Well, we need tax cuts and deregulation. My child has lice. Tax cuts and deregulation should do the trick. That's it. This party of the CEO boardroom has been laid bare. They're losing their cover. For all too long, these right-wing social issues have been kind of the fig leaf covering the otherwise naked emperor. And now those are falling by the wayside. Same-sex marriage is passing now. Come a long way since 2004. Tax cuts for rich people, not that popular. So this is, a trial balloon. This is the first shot on Republican Fort Sumner, whatever you want to call it. This is going to be an ugly process. Kevin Drum has a piece in Mother Jones today. Titled, "The Tea Party is Dead. Long Live the Tea Party." And brings up a good point that probably we've been remiss in talking about. The Tea Party, for all its glitz and all its media savvy, is nothing new. When FDR was president, it was called the American Liberty League. When Eisenhower and JFK were president, it was called the John Birch Society. When Bill Clinton was president, it was the Vince Foster Conspiracy Theorists. Whenever there's a Democrat in the White House, this virulent strain of right-wing, rhetoric infects a segment of the population, and they're willing to believe anything except a long-form birth certificate. You want to just run down the list of Obama conspiracies? But the difference between the John Birch Society or the American Liberty League or even, the Bill Clinton killed Vince Foster in an apartment owned by Hillary Clinton where she would have lesbian affairs. And yes, that was a real thing that Rush Limbaugh was talking about in the early 90s. I do get a kick election night and the day after on Fox News saying that, after this, Barack Obama really needs to be more like Bill Clinton if he wants to succeed. The right wing hated Bill Clinton. They hate anyone who has the audacity, to beat them out of their, they believe, literally divinely inspired role as the leaders of America. They hated Clinton. They impeached Clinton. They investigated every single aspect of that man's life. They accused him of being a murderer, a pimp, a drug dealer. You know, a little deal like Whitewater became, a starting point for a witch hunt. Nothing that man did was right. Now, again, 10 years later, and we have someone new to hate. Well, we loved Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was great. But am I the only one who remembers the 90s? It's not just because I own a hypercolor shirt and wish my shoes still pumped up. And I love NBA Jam. So I guess maybe I'm in a unique position to remember the 1990s when Republicans hated Bill Clinton. But Kevin Drum, look, lays it on the line. This is no longer a wing of the Republican Party. The right wing's always had that wing. The followers of Father Charles Coughlin, right? The McCarthyites, the residents of Glenbeckistan. This is no longer a wing. This is the Republican Party of 2012. It's not just, again, the Sky Admiral Michelle Bachmann's, Alan West's, Steve King's. Even the, mild-mannered Chuck Grassley is still open to and openly expressing the idea that perhaps, the Labor Department is skewing the numbers to help Barack Obama win re-election. That's Chuck Grassley. Again, has always been a much bigger hack than the media was willing to. Again, they play along with the facade, and he plays nice with them. But again, wait till you get the wrinkly Chuck Grassley finger pointed at you. I've had it done. I've seen the real guy. But even he is swept on it. This is the Republican Party of 2012. And they can't just evolve in 48 hours and move away from it. Not going to happen. And it will be amazing to watch. And okay, just the Reince Priebus's and Michael Steele's and the guys more important than that, the ones writing the big checks. I don't believe they're even anti-illegal immigration. Why? Republicans have always been for cheap labor. Why else bust unions? These were the things they had to put together to try to cobble together that 50% plus one. You don't go xenophobic because it feels good and it's fun. You do it because you have to. And now there's too many, again, Steve King's. Who, look, that act is what he owes his political career to. Or the Rush Limbaughs and the Glenn Becks, who, are pulling $30, $40, $50 million a year. Preaching that message to that audience, and you think their business model's just going to turn on a dime? The blowback is going to be great. Fun to watch, too, but yesterday Glenn Beck brought out the big map showing, the blue counties and the red counties. And how did he refer to those blue counties? As an infection spreading. I mean, while I appreciate a good eliminationist rhetoric as much as the next guy, like there are people paying him $20 a month to listen to that. It's insane. Or here's the clip from, I think this was election night. Either election night or yesterday. This was.
But it's suicide to sit back.
Back
not
going to
just
crazy
for my
town.
company or your company, but for the country.
It's a sweet-looking
We
mic.
don't have the luxury of time. I've been telling you for a while, and I've told my own staff,
Sweet-looking sweater.
if the president wins,
That's a
I don't
T-shirt
know how
over a
we
long sleeve
survive.
shirt.
I don't know how we survive the regulation that is coming for my industry. I don't know how we're going to survive the pressure and the tactics, because he has more flexibility now, and they remember their enemies. I don't know how we're going to survive because I won't compromise. I won't make a deal with the devil. I want you to understand this. Inflation is coming. The fiscal cliff is coming. The dollar fell last night on the news. Your taxes are going up. Your health care costs are going up. Your religion is going to come under attack. Gas, coal, and energy is going to become more expensive. Do you remember that list we put out a few months ago of do these things? I will tell you, last week we purchased more farmland as a family. May I recommend, if you have a chance to buy farmland, you buy farmland. If you live in the East, may I recommend, get the hell out of the East. Find a place where you are surrounded by like-minded people, and the best way to find those people is you should probably look at the maps on how counties voted and get away as far as you can from where huge densities of people who are like, I just need FEMA to help me. But get your kids away from the school that is indoctrinating them that socialism is okay. May I highly suggest you get grandfathered in to the Second Amendment today. Oh, and don't forget the ammunition.
Thanks to the fine folks at Right Wing Watch watching this crap so we don't have to. I just get that. We can't survive this. You need to get away from those liberal people.
And he just screwed me on ammunition prices.
Go deeper into the bubble.
But now you know how much it's going to cost for me to get bullets for my guns.
Don't blame me, man. Blame the NRA.
I'm blaming Glenn Beck.
It has nothing to do with Democrats or...
No. I'm just blaming
well, it's not just Glenn Beck. I mean,
go out and buy everything. Yeah, and now everybody's going to go out and buy everything.
Dude, the NRA has been yelling for a year that...
Yeah, but nobody listens to them anymore. Glenn Beck, unfortunately, people listen to.
Oh, I think plenty of people listen to. I mean, dude, even Leonard Boswell will whore himself out for that NRA endorsement.
Which I don't even understand. I'm a gun owner. I'm a gun rights guy, and I don't belong to the NRA because they don't serve my purposes.
No, and this is the other aspect. This is kind of the final bit about this, and this goes back to your wedge pushers, whether it's the NRA, who have spent the last year fundraising. See, Obama didn't come and take your guns because he's waiting till the second term to come and take your guns, so you need to send us money now. 4 years ago, it was Obama's going to take all your guns. Remember when gun stores couldn't keep ammo on shelves? People were buying it literally and burying it in their backyard because they believed, because people like the NRA and Glenn Beck told them that, you know, a community organizer or Acorn member or Black Panther is going to come to your door and take your guns if Barack Obama's elected. And when he was, they ran to gun stores. They ran to Walmart. They bought everything they could get their hands on. Because they were told by people in positions of power and trust that this is what was coming. There's too much, ultimately, money. I mean, I don't even want to imagine how much in donations. You know, the NRA has pulled in the last year, spouting these conspiracy theories. I know how much money Bob Vanderplaat's pulled, $120,000 a year, 3-year contract, to be the fundraiser and message man for the family leader. There's too much money in it for him. There's too much money in being a Jeff Mullen or a Steve Deace. They can't change their message. They're not going to change their business model. You think Glenn Beck all of a sudden is going to start doing cartwheels and saying it's a happy day? And what does it do for his business if he stands there in front of his chalkboard or fireplace or in his doom room and say, this Obama guy, you know, wasn't so bad. It wasn't the, you know, Armageddon hellhole that I had predicted. I was wrong. Silly me. Let's move on together as Americans, shall we? Who's going to buy that from him? Again, I spend way too much time reading, you know, places like the Free Republic or Red State or Fox Nation. And even more, you know, kind of sedated sites like the Iowa Republican. Go into the comments section. Read, again, what their clientele, what their audience is saying. And if there's one thing we've learned, and whether it's, again, the election of Obama or the upholding of Obamacare, the base is really bad at knowing what to say, how to react, what to be mad at, until, their betters tell them. Yeah, these angry, bubble-living balls of rage didn't end up there on their own. They were glad-handed, they were coddled, they were told that they were great Americans and they've got it right and they surround us, and they lead them further and further down the path. They didn't get here in a day, and they're not going to get out in 48 hours. I don't care what Sean had. He can evolve into war turtle, and he's still having to deal with the audience that he's been, inflaming for a decade. Steve King can't change his message. He's locked in. Back in Rush, although Rush did some Latino outreach today. He played Feliz Navidad. Because Obama is Santa Claus who is going to give people things. Matt Taibbi has a nice piece. I believe you can get it on Rolling Stone's website. He listened to Limbaugh the same way I did after the election. So pure schadenfreude, I admit. Some introspection was probably in order, particularly with the question soon to become of the dominant question of American major party politics, of what the Republicans have to do better with women and minorities. They dominated with white males, but lagged with almost all other groups. And it's a nice breakdown, at least of, one kind of vector of infection here. And, even when he's dealing with a loss, even when he's trying to cope, working through the 5 steps, but keeps looping back to anger for some reason. Working through the 5 stages of grief. And even, just can't do it without dripping contempt, without biting sarcasm and condescension. He's incapable. This is the pure id of the Republican Party. It's all they've got left. But again, there's a decade's worth of entrenchment here. They're not going to get out of it in a day, and some parts of the Republican Party will fight like hell, but they never have to move out of their comfortable little bubble. And it's going to be fun to watch, that establishment, the guys who write the big checks and make this whole thing happen, try to pull this party out of the ditch that they've driven themselves into. And, I wish them luck. I want there to be 2 parties. I've said this for years. I don't say this because I want Republicans to win things. I am a Democrat. I believe that my party has better answers for solutions. All right. I believe, history backs me up on this. That's not to say I have all the answers or one philosophy, can fix everything. This isn't, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. We can't just stamp 42 on everything and move on. But as of right now, there is no debate in this country. There's no back and forth of ideas. And we have one party on the left that says, hey, you know what? Maybe it's time for the rich to pay, a little bit more. Let's go back to the Clinton tax levels. Let's do comprehensive immigration reform. Let's stop wasting our time demagoguing immigrants and pass the DREAM Act. And what does the other side have to offer? Socialism, Marxism. You hate America, you communist, anti-colonialist, socialist, Marxist, Nazi. P.S. Cut taxes and deregulate. How are we supposed to have a discussion? How are we supposed to debate? So, this isn't concern trolling. This isn't, when Sean Hannity goes, what Democrats need to do is just, give it to Republicans, and that'll be great for them. Yeah, ask Leonard Boswell how that works. I'm not saying I want them to win. I just want them worthy of taking the field. All right, 244-0077. Email me, radiobradshaw@gmail.com. Text me. Oh, actually, don't. Email me, radiobradshaw@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. Back right after this on The Bradshaw Show on Webcast One Live. Thanks for watching.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I'm administrative manager.
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, it's got to be, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
If you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? You can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going, though. I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.
Rock concert movement number 1.
Hey, that's me.
The basic head bob. Ready, go.
All right, 214 Bradshaw with you here on a warm. It's a warm Friday. It's nice. That weather is not going to last. There's highs in the 30s coming up. This breaking. The director of the CIA, David Petraeus, has resigned over an extramarital affair. Submitted his resignation to the president last night, accepted today. And again, I'm not The only people I truly believe deserve to, pardon the term, go down for these extramarital affairs are the family, crusaders. If you're one of the family values, wide stance, that's just me. But I do understand as the head of the CIA. Although, you'd think, since he's admitted it, that definitely limits its blackmail potential. It's not often he says, I have to step down. I want to spend some time with not my family. I'm sure there's more to this story that we'll get over time, but at least for now, Dave Petraeus steps down as director of the CIA. Almost feel bad for all the vitriol he's going to get. Remember when he was betray us on the right? Yeah, they're going to have a field day with this one. Kind of ties in to what we were talking about before the break. Is again, never underestimate the American right's ability to discern and divine the wrong answers from almost any situation. And again, I read this stuff so you don't have to. Eric Erickson is a CNN contributor, talk radio host, and proprietor of Red State. Other than the Drudge Report, probably the biggest right-wing site out there. Their piece today. Public policies polls were rigged all along. This coming on the heels of, what happens after every election, and the various pollsters are judged by, how close to right they got it. They're very, good pollsters. There's Rasmussen on the other end. But throughout this whole cycle, and again, if you are a Twitter person, I highly recommend following the folks at Public Policy Polling. If for no other reason, forget even if you're a person that doesn't care about the poll numbers, the responses they get, the entertainment value from the passing along of tweets they get, the phone calls that they get, is the truly entertaining part. Righties hate them because they are the in-house pollster for the folks at Daily Kos. Go back a couple of years, and Nate Silver was one of the people instrumental in this. Daily Kos' old pollster, Research 2000, turned out to be a fraud and a fake. It's a fake. So they were fired. Public Policy Polling came in and immediately became public enemy number one on the right. Because they didn't do what the number one job the media, at least from the right, is expected to do, which is tell them things that they like and agree with. As, scoreboard after scoreboard shows, the most accurate, again, Public Policy Polling. Again, hate to say I told you so, but actually I love it. They're the it girl in polling and have been for at least the last few years now. So New York Magazine did a piece, profiling the it girl pollsters of the day. And when I talked to Tom Jensen, Public Policy Polling's director this morning, he was understandably in a mood to gloat. Said, these supposed polling experts in the conservative side are morons. Subtle. Jay Cost, the Weekly Standard's polling expert, who'd waged a number-crunching war against public policy polling, is an idiot. But Jenkins conceded the secret to their success is what boiled down to a well-informed, but still not entirely empirical hunch. This is how public policy polling got it right. We just projected that African-American, Hispanic, and young voter turnout would be as high in 2012 as it was in 2008, and we weighed our polls accordingly, he explained. When you look at the polls that succeeded and those that failed, that was the difference. Given the methodological challenges currently confronting pollsters, those hunches are only going to prove more important. The art part of polling, as opposed to the science part, Jensen said, is becoming a bigger and bigger part of the equation in having accurate polls. So what Tom Jensen is saying here is that in putting together our numbers, trying to determine, we assumed that basically young people and minorities didn't disappear. That they still existed, and they were still registered to vote, and they were still going to vote, and magically they were right. Now, if I was looking to glean something from this, if I was looking to learn something moving forward, even if I was on the other team, I would say that perhaps, again, female and minority outreach might be a big deal moving forward, but not for the folks at Red State, darn it. Their takeaway? Well, that they were rigging the polls. Again, ignore the simple fact that they were right. They nailed it. They were correct. And the right wing was wrong. The polls weren't skewed. You were being given bad information and you grittily asked for seconds. You rushed to support the Dick Morrises and the Karl Roves who led you wrong at every turn. I don't remember anyone willing to say public policy polling was actively rigging the polls to reach chosen results. But there it is in black and white. That's their takeaway. So again, never underestimate the right wing's ability to pull the wrong conclusion from whatever the situation. And if you think that's bad, see what the Romney campaign had. First, though, Bobby, welcome. I think this button works.
Yes. Hello.
What can I do for you today?
Just hitting on what you were talking about earlier about the GOP trying to reimage itself with Sean Hannity there and Glenn Beck not really falling into that same scale.
Well, now Hannity says he evolved.
Right, or Beck not falling into the same scale as Hannity is with
Beck's a crazy man.
Move to the red counties instead of the blue ones in some sorry attempt to recalculate and recalibrate the voting demographic. That's the only way I see that. Anyway, they've got more of an uphill battle than they realize when you talk about blowback and everything that they've set up.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's simple. Lindsey Graham, of all people, nailed it. They're not making enough angry white people.
Oh, no, they're not. And every year, more fresh, young voters that liberals dominate are coming out of high school, going into college, going into, new things, coming out and voting and realizing that nothing is getting done. They swept the House in 2010. And after that, little to nothing got done other than, no, we're not going to let you do that. We're not going to let you do that. No, that's too social. That's wrong. That's not what America needs. And they were banking on Obama losing this election, and Obama didn't.
Well, we're already seeing the signs of the double down, whether it's Mitch McConnell, saying no, 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 no. John Boehner yesterday said he was very magnanimous of him. He was willing to accept new revenue, but only if it came from lowering taxes. Like, you're willing to accept Mitt Romney's tax plan?
No.
Well, he lost. You don't get Mitt Romney's tax plan. In fact, it's probably time to talk about, the report that you guys buried saying that lowering tax rates doesn't increase revenue. But again, that's, as a member of the reality-based community, I could see why the right wing would oppose such measures.
Right. But one way or another, as you were saying, putting forth their own ideas, hey, let the whole back and forth conversation you had there, something needs to be put forward, or all of that is going to not just, what they've been doing, which is basically nothing for the past 4 years, but trying to stand on the opposite side as Obama. If you don't put nothing forward, it's going to be a lot bigger than I think they realize, or even you were insinuating earlier. They're not getting any more credit for anything than the Democrats are. Probably, I think I worded that wrong, but
oh, that's true. It's hard to run on doing anything as the
when
party
you don't
of no.
do nothing. Yes.
Well, I think they tried to make this election a referendum on Obama and failed. That was one of the original miscalculations of the Romney campaign. But and this is something I talked about going back to 2010, and that is filibuster reform. And I don't think the public as a whole understands how the Senate works. The House of Representatives is a straight numbers game. If you have more people than the other team, all right, you make the rules, you run the show, you run the committees. The Senate is a different ball game, and it's bogged down in parliamentary procedure. Now, originally as designed, it was, supposed to be where, the tea cools. It was to temper things. It was supposed to be less reactionary than the House of Representatives. But as it stands now, it has turned this into, an ungovernable mess with anonymous holds where one senator can stop anything anonymously by his lonesome. On the flip side, anything passing now requires 60 votes. Everything is subject to a filibuster. And I know righties can say, but you did it too. I mean, look, Bush got more, confirmations than Obama did in his first term. Got more judges through, got more appointments through. It's time for filibuster reform. It's something that I argued for in 2010. When a new Senate comes in, they are allowed to set their own rules by simple majority vote. Now, what always happens is, well, we'll just move to pass the rules as they were, and things move forward. I'm not saying eliminate it entirely, but the painless filibuster has to go.
Right.
It's the only way, again, to deal with an intellectually bankrupt party that has nothing but hostage-taking and obstruction up their sleeve. I mean, this is the time to call Tom Harkin and tell him that you are on board with filibuster reform. I'm guessing calling Chuck Grassley's office won't accomplish anything.
But in a time where Republicans, if they don't fall in line with the far right, with the Hannitys and the Becks, and they actually try to compromise, they also face blowback from their own base come Election Day when they are working with the enemy, with the Marxists, with the socialists.
Well, that's what cost Dick Lugar his seat. I mean, here's a guy with a 77% lifetime rating from the American Conservative Union. And Richard Murdoch ran in the primary as Dick Lugar is Obama's favorite Republican.
Right.
And showed video of them working together. By the way, and they did work together on, and this has been a cause that Obama's been on since he first got to the Senate, and that is securing loose nukes, which seems like, again, common sense. There's nothing partisan about. We would like, nukes to not just be out in the open running around. I didn't think that was a partisan issue.
And it shouldn't have been.
And in truth, it isn't, except on the far right, when you can use that as a hammer against one of your own. Orrin Hatch barely survived.
And they ingrained that into their base. They made their base start, and not necessarily moving farther to the right, but believing that anybody that worked with Obama
was a traitor.
Was a rhino, wasn't there. And I think, just circling back to my point, to what you were saying earlier, which is basically your point, I think it's going to be a lot harder for them to break down and rebuild their party and have people that follow it, have people that don't break away and claim they're independent. Not saying that they'll actually vote for a Democrat come again.
Well, and by I'm out of time, but I appreciate the call. Don't underestimate the right wing's ability to drop things down the memory hole. When Ronald Reagan raised taxes, sold weapons to Iran, granted amnesty, all of those things have been forgotten on the right. Orwell would be impressed with that ability. So in one sense, on individual issues, on small issues, they can turn on a dime, and we've always been at war with East Asia. I just think it's so ingrained. It is going to be a painful process to exercise that kind of nativist tumor, the know-nothing, anti-intellectual tumor that has taken hold in the right wing and given birth to Sharon Engel and her Second Amendment remedies, Christine O'Donnell's witchcraft, and Richard Murdoch's gifts from God. You're not going to get away from those. Not in a day, not in 48 hours, probably not in one election cycle. And it'd be very interesting to watch, again, how the real, string pullers in the Republican Party, the folks who write the big checks, who make, the trains run on time, and how they deal with this frenzied base that they've created and coddled, nurtured, nursed at the teat of right-wing vitriol. That is going to be one hell of a weaning process. I got to scoot. Email me, radiobradshaw@gmail.com. I am an absolute feedback junkie, always interested in what people have to say. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. Always interested, again, in what people have to say. Go to thebradshawshow.com. You can watch show archives and the like. www.thebradshawshow.com. It's all there. If I said it, it is on the record, and you can go back, even as far as back as the summer, and watch my devastatingly accurate portrayal of what was going to happen. And nailed it, a little proud to say. And we will reconvene Monday at 1:30 here on The Bradshaw Show and Webcast One Live. Thanks for watching. See you then.